I'm Alexa. Today we're making black and white cookies. I measured out all my ingredients and I recommend that you do so too. You can find a full list of ingredients and measurements in the link in the description. Remember to watch the video first so you can be prepared.
To start, I'm going to sift my flour and baking soda. This is to make sure there are no clumps. If you don't have a sifter, you can use a wire whisk or a fork. When you're sifting, you can push the ingredients through using a rubber spatula or a spoon, or you can tap the sides of it with your hands. If your sifter has a stand, you should tap the sides of your sifter after it looks like all the ingredients have fallen through to make sure no ingredients are stuck. Today I'm not using a sifter with a stand, so I don't need to do this step. Next, I'm going to put my vanilla extract into my buttermilk. I'm going to stir it with a spoon to combine it. Now, I'm going to cream my butter in the bowl of my stand mixer. Creaming your butter means putting it in your mixer and letting it mix by itself so it loosens and actually becomes creamy. This will allow it to combine better with the rest of your ingredients. Some recipes tell you to cream your butter with your sugar, but I find that it combines better when you cream the butter by itself first. Before adding in the sugar, I'm going to scrape down my bowl one more time so the sugar will mix in better. Now I'm going to add in my sugar. I'm going to mix this for about 3 minutes until it becomes light and fluffy. When it starts to stick to the bowl, I'm going to scrape it down with a rubber spatula. My batter looks great, but before I add in the next ingredients, I'm going to scrape down my bowl again to help them combine faster. Next, I'm going to add in my egg. Before I add it in, I'm going to scramble it with a fork, which should help it combine better with my other ingredients. I'm going to mix this until it's combined. My ingredients don't look like they're mixing well, so I'm going to scrape down my bowl again. My batter looks well mixed, but I'm going to scrape down my bowl quickly before adding in my next ingredients. Now, I'm going to add in about a third of my sifted dry ingredients from before. It doesn't need to be exact. Some of my dry ingredients are sticking to the sides of my bowl, so I'm going to scrape them down again. Next, I'm going to add in about half of my buttermilk mixture. buttermilk isn't mixing in, so I'm going to scrape down the sides of my bowl again. I'm going to add in about half of my remaining dry ingredients. Once again, my dry ingredients are sticking to the sides of my bowl, so I'm going to scrape it down. Now, I'm going to add in the rest of my buttermilk mixture. I'm going to scrape down the bowl it is in, so all of it enters my mixing bowl. I'm going to scrape down my bowl again to make sure everything is mixing well. Now, I'm going to add in the rest of my dry ingredients. I'm going to mix this until it's fully incorporated. My dry ingredients are sticking to my bowl again, so I'm going to scrape it down. My batter looks great, so let's move on to the next step. Next, I'm going to scoop my cookies. I'm using 1/3 of a cup ice cream scoop, but you can use a measuring cup if you'd prefer. Make sure the scoop is filled all the way to the top so the cookies are all the same size. Try to ensure the scooped cookies are as round as possible because then the cookies will be more circular. You can make the cookies smaller if you'd like by using a 1/4 cup scoop. If you do that, make sure to adjust the time you bake them for to be less so they don't burn. Next, I'm going to put my cookies into the oven. My oven's preheated to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Bake them in the middle rack of the oven. My cookies took 12 minutes to bake when I used 1/3 of a cup ice cream scoop. When I used a 1/4 cup scoop, my cookies took 11 minutes to bake. Set your timer for 10 minutes and a few more minutes if they aren't done at that point. When they're done, the tops will be puffed up and bounce back when you touch them. They will also be pale but a little golden in color. Put them on a cooling rack so they can cool. While my cookies are cooling, I'm going to start on my icing. To do this, I'm going to first sift my powdered sugar. This is very important because otherwise you will have powdered sugar clumps in your icing. Next, I'm going to add in my lemon juice, a tablespoon of water, and my corn syrup into the powdered sugar. I'm going to mix this with my spoon until it's evenly combined. I'm going to keep adding water a half teaspoon at a time until my icing has a ribbon-like texture when you lift up the spoon. Now I'm going to sift my cocoa powder. This is also important because it'll be clumpy otherwise. Next, I'm going to scoop about half of my vanilla icing into the cocoa powder. I'm going to mix this until it's evenly combined. We want this to have the same ribbon texture as the vanilla, so you will likely need to add some water to this, a half teaspoon at a time. Next, I'm going to ice my cookies. Before you do this, make sure to flip your cookies over and ice them on the flat side. This will be far easier to do. Try to ice half of it in vanilla and half with chocolate. It doesn't need to be exact. I used an offset cake spatula to spread the icing across my cookies. You can use anything you'd like, but I find that using an offset cake spatula is easiest. And my black and white cookies are done and looking delicious. Please let me know what you thought of the video in the comments and how the recipe went for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you can see when new videos are added. Thank you and enjoy!